Good afternoon. I'm Michael Fisch, Chairman of the Atlantic Council's Freedom and Prosperity Center. Thank you for joining us for the launch of the 2026 Freedom and Prosperity Indexes. Today's conversations are happening as the world grapples with war, economic uncertainty, and limited access to critical resources. Governments everywhere are confronting difficult choices. Underlying it all, however, is the fundamental question: what promotes strong and prosperous societies? It is this question that we set out to answer 4 years ago in 2022, with the goal of developing the evidence needed to arm change makers and inform wiser policy choices about what boosts economic development and well-being in countries across the world. That evidence has led us to one conclusion: prosperity is driven by a robust commitment to political rights, economic freedom, and respect for the rule of law. And today we are seeing that again in the release of the 2026 Freedom and Prosperity Indexes. The importance of this work has only been magnified in recent years. The sad war in Ukraine has returned large-scale conflict to Europe. Equally troubling, fighting in the Middle East has injected fresh instability into global markets and diplomacy, intensifying competition among major powers as redrawing the map of trade and investment, as tariffs, supply chain restrictions, and volatile economic relationships become commonplace. Pressures like these are precisely what put a country's institutions to the test. When uncertainty rises, it is institutions that determine whether societies adapt and thrive or struggle to respond. The annual indexes accompanying research we provide are meant to move beyond headlines and examine what is happening beneath the surface. This year's report paints a grim picture. Global progress on economic freedom has largely stalled after years of marked improvement, stripping away the gains in women's economic participation, and the core of economic freedom has barely moved in over a decade. Additionally, the decline in political freedom we highlighted last year has only continued. In fact, the world's average political freedom score is now at its lowest point since 1999. We see even more serious trend this year. Declines in the rule of law are accelerating as well. The central message of this year's Freedom and Prosperity Index report focuses on the troubling fact that globally, the legal foundations which enable prosperity are rapidly eroding. For decades, the rule of law has served as the final line of defense against political backsliding. The independent courts, the predictable rules, the administrative checks and balances that contain the damage even when politics turns bitter. That line of defense is now giving way across the world, and it's important to note that it's happening in richer economies as well as poorer ones. At a moment like this, it bears repeating plainly what the evidence has shown time and again: defending freedom delivers real returns. Some will insist that the rule of law is a technical matter, best left to specialists. Our data and research suggests the opposite. Where political freedom and economic freedom and the rule of law advance together, countries grow faster, achieve better health and education outcomes, narrow inequality, and inflict less harm on their environment. Simply, freer societies are fairer, more resilient, and more prosperous. Yet when uncertainty takes hold, war, upheaval, crises, these very freedoms tend to be the first sacrificed, with leaders insisting they can be restored later. That led us to ask, if the rule of law is beginning to weaken, what will that mean for growth and prosperity? The answer is sobering. Our center shows research that strong legal institutions are among the bedrock conditions for prosperity. Where the rule of law is weak, high prosperity is rare. Furthermore, open markets, investment, and entrepreneurship all rest on rules that are clear, stable, and applied fairly. So while the rule of law is a foundational one and necessary ingredient for prosperity, it is not sufficient. The rule of law, economic freedom, and political freedom each reinforce the other and cannot be pulled apart. That is the terrain we'll explore today, guided by what our newest data shows. We will also hear from those meeting these challenges head on, whether they are strengthening democratic institutions, protecting vulnerable populations, promoting economic growth, or investing in long-term development. The efforts underway across the globe promote freedom and advance prosperity, and they've never carried greater weight. As chair of the Freedom and Prosperity Center and on behalf of the entire team at the Atlantic Council, let me thank each of you for being with us today. Many thanks as well to our distinguished speakers for joining us, and my congratulations to the authors of this year's report, Ignacio, Nina, and Annie. Before I turn things over to Nina, allow me a brief word on how far the Freedom and Prosperity Center has come. This year, the center has sharpened its analysis, widened the reach of the indexes, and become a trusted destination for rigorous, evidence-based research and policy. This research has been and will continue to be free of partisan ideology. It is simply aimed at using evidence to make the world a better place. With that, it's my pleasure to give Nina the floor to take us through the findings of the latest Freedom and Prosperity Indexes. Thank you.